My name is Caitlin Kenny. I'm the zoo curator here at Sunset Zoo in Manhattan, Kansas.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all, so today we are going to go to a zoo in Manhattan. And no, I'm not talking about the Central Park Zoo, and that's because, no, I'm not talking about that Manhattan. Instead, we are talking about the Sunset Zoo, which is located in Manhattan, Kansas, commonly known to the world at large as the other Big Apple? No, it's not. It's actually known to the world at large as, I'm sorry, where? But I will say this, they have an incredible zoo. The Sunset Zoo in Manhattan, Kansas absolutely blew me away. It's a small to medium-sized zoo, but the collection doesn't really seem like it. And we're going to get into some of those really cool animals, including tigers and tiger cubs, red pandas and a red panda cub, which is always exciting, okapi, lemurs, so much. We're even talking chimpanzees, y'all. So like smaller zoo with, let's just say they're punching above their weight, right? And I always love to see that. Also, this is a return guest. For those of you who have been listening since, I think the first season still, Caitlin Kenny was on back when she worked at the Lemur Conservation Foundation in Mayaca City, Florida. And now she is on to talk about her role as the curator at the Sunset Zoo. So that's a lot of fun. I love having people on for the second time, years later, seeing where they're at in their career, all that good stuff. So with all of that said, we're going to get to that interview. But before we do, I've got a couple quick reminders for you. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these Tuesday interview episodes or any of my Friday Zoo News episodes. Don't forget to follow along on the socials at Rossifari, at Rossifari Pod on the TikTok machine. And also, not most importantly, but it does help, don't forget that you can support the podcast by going to patreon.com/Rossifari and signing up to be a patron. For as little as $3 a month, you can help support the podcast. And depending on what tier you get involved in, there are even some stickers involved. So with all of that said, it is time to head to the other Manhattan, the small apple, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, and to bring you my interview with Caitlin Kenny of Sunset Zoo. Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here for the first time. So you've been Rossifari'd before.
I have.
Yeah, and that was a couple of years ago. So talk about where you were and what your journey to here has been.
Yeah, so last time we spoke, I was at the Lemur Conservation Foundation in Mayaca City, Florida. We have nailed that down to maybe 2020, 2021.
Something like that. It was early. Yeah.
And so I was there through the end of 2022. And that's when I made the decision to venture out past just lemurs. And I moved here to Sunset, and I started in January of 23. So I've been here a little over 2 years.
That's awesome. And it's really cool that you have decided to venture, away from just lemurs. On a completely unrelated note, what is the next area that you're planning on building here and that you're going to be helping to design?
Lemurs.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I am personally very excited about that. We do have a lemur habitat here, but we have 2 lonely little ring-tailed lemurs, and I want to get them a bunch of friends and different species. So Yeah.
Yeah, very excited about that. Yeah, so you ventured away from lemurs, but only so far. Only so far. And so, yeah, that's really cool. And welcome back. It's good to see you again. I do have to point out to people listening that we both currently have purple and blue hair. And I got very excited when I saw that. So, yeah. But so let's talk about Sunset Zoo. We're out here. We're in Manhattan, Kansas, a place that I didn't know existed.
Neither did I until I moved here.
Yeah, fair. So talk about the zoo a little bit. Just kind of give an overview.
Yeah. So Sunset is a kind of small to middle-sized zoo, depending on your experience in those realms. We celebrated our 90th anniversary last year, so we are an older facility, but we've got a wide range of species. We've got some herps, some birds, some mammals of all different sizes, and we, tackle some big stuff within the AZA community. So yeah, we're a really pretty nice facility for being in a town that most people don't know exists.
Yeah, no, actually, I was surprised at the size of this place and at the collection. You got some big zoo species.
We do.
Yeah. And so I think the first thing that we need to talk about is the chimpanzees that are here, and in particular, a very special lady. So go ahead and tell people about that.
Yeah. So we have a smaller chimpanzee troop. We have 5 individuals, but we are hoping to keep it that way for a little bit longer because we have who is currently the oldest chimpanzee in AZA. Her name is Susie, and she is celebrating her 71st birthday this year.
That's astonishing.
Yes, she has lived here at Sunset since 1974. She is a staple in our community. I mean, we have, grandparents that raised their kids here who are now raising their kids, and everybody knows who Susie is. And we absolutely adore her.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk a little bit about, I know that you're relatively new here. It's only been a couple of years, but I also know that you people all talk. And so what was she like more back in the day, and what has changed, and how have you had to accommodate, her age? And I will say it was cool getting to see her, and she's still very much a chimpanzee. She climbs and does chimpanzee things. So yeah, that was very cool to see.
Yeah. So, we have a wide variety of stories of Susie from back in the day, some of which, it's not, some things are not super nice to hear these days, but when you think about it, it's like, yeah, that was the zoological field in the 70s, right? So we have stories about people coming in and giving her cigarettes because she used to smoke. Yep.
Okay. I mean, that is horrible, but it is also a great story.
Right. Yeah. So, and then, we pass up through the years, and she has lived with obviously a fair number of other chimps. She has outlived a fair number of other chimps. And these days, she has a very customized care schedule, for all of her special needs. So, she gets hand fed, usually individually fed, after the rest of the troop have gone out to forage for the morning so that we can ensure she's getting all of her proper nutrition. She gets a couple of Ensure protein shakes every day help maintain that muscle mass, which she does not have a whole lot of anymore, just, usual aging process. And then she is on, a very customized medication regimen that helps keep her joints moving and helps keep her arthritis pain down, things like that. But yeah, like you said, she navigates the habitat really well. She still interacts with all of her chimp friends and the staff. She is and always has loved people. She does have a preference for men usually, but she also loves children. So I have heard guests come and tell stories about how she has interacted with them at the glass for, years and years, and she will still do that. Her vision is starting to go. She does have a cataract in one eye, and the other one is developing a cataract as well, but she knows when there are children at the glass, and she loves to go up and interact with them. She'll blow kisses and she'll knock on the glass. She's the only individual in the zoo who is allowed to knock on the glass. Yeah, so she's still very interactive, even at her ripe old age of 71.
Yeah, it's that was really special. We spent a lot of time there. I think we spent a solid 20 minutes.
Yes,
yeah,
easily.
and could have spent more. I mean, that was awesome. So I know that and chimpanzee troops are very hierarchical. How does that work with somebody who's so old and kind of frail, but also still doing great?
Yeah, so I like to say that the troop more or less revolves around Susie. She's not actually related to any of them, but she is more or less like the grandmother of the group. So, if she is upset and she starts screaming, everybody runs to find out what's going on, because she's grandma, like she needs to be protected. But at the same time, it is also a typical chimpanzee troop that if for some reason someone is upset, they will sometimes take it out on her because she's an easy target.
Right.
So it's kind of, that balance, and as much as we can do to protect her from some of the more egregious social outbreaks within the group, just because she is on the frail side. But generally, they keep her out of the most chaotic of chimp dynamics. Yeah.
Cool. That's really neat. Yeah, that was that's a pretty special thing to see, So moving on from the chimpanzees, we did a couple behind the scenes things today, and one in particular is something that anyone listening can come and do.
Yes.
And so why don't we talk about that a little bit?
So we had the opportunity today to do what was essentially our sloth bear encounter. It was a little modified for us, but we do offer a paid sloth bear encounter opportunity for our guests. They get to come behind the scenes in our sloth bear building, and meet our sloth bear Tess one-on-one. We did actually just send out her sister Molly just yesterday. I will not say where because it has not been publicized yet, but she has left us to go to another facility to hopefully breed. Now we just have Tess, but you have the opportunity to go behind the scenes and meet her and also do a feeding with a sloth bear. For anyone not familiar with sloth bears, this might sound a little strange. Oh my God, I get to feed a bear. But sloth bears are actually really cool. They are insectivores. In the wild, they generally only eat ants. Well, not only, but the primary part of their diet are ants and termites and other insects. So they are built to eat those things. They are built, their claws are really, really long claws to be able to tear into these really hard termite mounds. And then they have a very specialized way to eat, which is through suction.
Yes.
So they can stick their nose and mouth up to the side of a termite mound and suck just a very large volume of insects to eat. So what we offer with our encounter is it's actually a plastic tube. It used to be longer than it is now, so I cannot actually tell you how long it is, but it's probably at least 4 feet long when you stretch it out flat. And we will offer one end of the tube to Miss Tess, and the other end of the tube, it gets to be controlled by the encounter participants, and you get to see that suction in action. And they're very fast and they're very forceful, so it does go pretty quickly. But it is also really, really cool to see and experience that adaptation.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I have never had a chance to feed a sloth bear before. And I mean, it literally looked like if you picture like a vacuum cleaner's tube, only if it was clear so you could see the stuff going the whole way. Because as soon as Tess started sucking, that stuff was just gone. It moved fast. I understood logically that they have to have a lot of suction because you're pulling, like you said, termites out of mounds and, all that stuff. But I did not appreciate how quickly the food was going to just 4 feet away, gone, in the mouth, gone. Yeah, that was very cool.
And I don't think I said at the time what she was actually getting to eat. So part of it was insectivore, which is her diet. And then on top of that, she got some pumpkin spice Cheerios.
Amazing.
Because our girls are bougie and that is their favorite type of Cheerios. So every fall when they have their limited release, we would go and buy as many boxes as possible to help them last throughout the year. So anytime we have to do something potentially negative, or we want to really enforce course, as a training reward, we use those pumpkin spice Cheerios.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, I had it was funny. I had a person reach out once. I had posted a video of me feeding some Cheerios to a tree kangaroo. And, we were talking on the video. I'm like, oh, yeah, you want some Cheerios, whatever. And they were like, haha, Cheerios. You wouldn't feed Cheerios to an animal. And I was like, no, dog, these were Cheerios. It's cool. It's fine. Like, Cheerios are, nutritionally sound for these animals. But it was just so funny. The way they wrote it, it was kind of like I know enough to know that you're not actually feeding Cheerios. And I'm like, oh no, we got boxes.
Yep. Boxes and boxes.
I love that they're bougie about the pumpkin spice though. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just so Tess is basic is what you're saying.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I like it. And so I'm curious now, sloth bears are, they are a zoo lover's favorite animal. Like a lot of people who are zoo nerds like me love them, but they're not like a public's, favorite animal. Not a lot of people I think know that sloth bears exist. I did hear a couple different children while we were here shout fluffy bear, which is a great name for them. And B, I think when you see them, you get excited. But as far as planning and experience in advance and stuff. So have they been going well? Do you have a lot of them or?
We actually do not have a lot of them. I think we started them shortly after I came. So about 2 years we've been doing sloth bear encounters. I think we've only had maybe 2 actual paid encounters for this opportunity. So I very much highlight to anybody listening, if you are near Sunset or if you're ever passing through and you want that opportunity, it is a really, really fantastic opportunity to get up close and personal with a really, really cool animal that most facilities do not offer that opportunity for.
No, and I've never heard of this, like the tube feeding type thing. That was really cool. And it's pretty darn rare nowadays that there's something I haven't even heard of. We talk about zoos once in a while on this podcast. So.
Yeah, every now and
then. I highly recommend that, y'all, if you get out to Manhattan, Kansas, because who doesn't go to Manhattan, Kansas?
Yeah, it's a big tourist destination.
Yeah. And then another thing that we got to do was watch some tiger training. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very cool. If you could talk about, first of all, the training that we saw and what you guys were going for and everything, but then we also just have to talk about the tigers here.
Yeah. So we got a very short opportunity to see our female tiger Indra do some training. So specifically what they were working on today was blood pressure on her tail. And then they were reinforcing some of her hip injection training. So we were able to see the portion with the blood pressure cuff.
Yes.
And then we had to leave before they advanced to the hip injections because she had lost her tolerance of us being in there, but that's okay. So Indra does not care for men very well, and she doesn't care for strangers very well either. So the fact that she let us stay as long as we could was pretty impressive for her.
And she did at one point kind of break from the behavior and then settled back down. And yes. I watching how the trainers handled that was really cool because they were completely in control, not in control of the tiger, but in control of the situation, knew the adverse antecedent that I was creating in particular, just by existing, and very much handled it step by step as any good trainer would. And it was really cool to watch that. And just, she completely went from who's this dude to going back to the space and settling down, and was rewarded for each step of that process. And then they got to do a whole nother try, and she wasn't even facing me. Mm-hmm. She was willing to look away from the big scary man, yes. which was awesome to see. That's a lot of trust.
Yeah. And honestly, she never got to she never became aggressive or too overly active, but she kept breaking away from them. And then so that's when I decided that we should leave because she was not as focused on them as she was on us.
Right.
So it wasn't a very productive training session at that point. So we went ahead and stepped out. So she generally does really well with training. She, again, prefers women, which is fine because her primary creepers are women, so that works really well. And she is also blood draw trained in her tail.
That's really cool.
And it was in that exact spot that she was doing her training. That last 4th of July, we were able to do a voluntary blood draw with her. And then we used that blood with a kind of newer technique that was recommended by the Tiger SSP to try to verify her pregnancy. So Indra is, specifically, we have Malayan tigers, I should specify. And she is our first Malayan tiger to produce cubs here. And we were so excited, at the potential that she was pregnant that we had our veterinary resident to come out, and actually she volunteered to come out on the 4th of July. We did that blood draw. We brought it over to K-State VetMed, which is who we partner with for our veterinary care. And she and I sat and we spun down the blood and we waited like 20 minutes and then we did the test and we were just on pins and needles the whole time.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, it came back positive, and we had our first 2 cubs born on August 23rd last year. So we got to see them today as well.
Boy, did we. And y'all checked out the socials because I got some baby tiger bleps, and they are very cute. But yeah.
Yes, they were very adorable, but unfortunately very tired this morning. And that was because last night was the first night they were able to stay outdoors in the yard all night. So based on their behavior at the time of day that we saw them, my guess is they were active all night long because they were exhausted this morning when we saw them.
Yeah, one did not open its eyes at all.
Correct.
The entire time. Did not see. Yeah, no. And then the other one was doing the thing, like if you have a dog or anything like that or a cat, you will see this sometimes where it's I'm trying to stay awake and I'm trying to keep my eyes open and they keep drooping and they keep drooping. And it was just adorable. Yeah. Big fan of those little ones. So what are their names?
So our male's name is Ayaz and our female's name is Saba.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Who was the bleppy one?
Ayaz.
Ayaz. That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And that was really cool. I really liked, like I said, I really liked the training session. I liked the focus. I liked seeing how into the training she was. Because even though she was a little distracted, like you said, she did the thing and kept going back to it. So that was cool. And it was the right call to leave, but you could really tell how good of a relationship the trainers have, with their tiger, which is pretty awesome. And it's also just really cool, like seeing a tiger tail in a human's hand. Like it's under the fencing and everything is super safe. But like, that's a tiger, It's just very cool.
Yeah. So like we mentioned, I have more of a history working with lemurs specifically. So when I moved here and I helped that same keeper do tail blood draws with our Amur leopard male, and having his tail in my hand it's one of my top moments. Because I have always loved cats. I always kind of thought that I would work with cats. Sure. And so when I fell into lemurs and then stayed there for as long as I did, it was a little unexpected. So being able to work with cats again has been really fun. And especially Amur leopards that I've always had a really strong appreciation for. And holding his tail in my hand while doing a blood draw was really, really, really cool.
That is really cool. And y'all, for you guys listening, because this, Indra is like nervous around men, I couldn't talk for the entire time we were back there. It was challenging. But I know that you guys who listen know just how challenging that was. But I was a good boy. I didn't talk.
You were great.
I poked occasionally. I got excited. One of the cubs was like trying to look back.
Correct.
And I made sure that everybody knew it by gently punching arms. But no talking. So that was very hard for me.
You did great.
Well, thank you. And then one of the sections I really want to talk about here, and we've already talked about some of the animals in it, but like the overall aesthetic of it is just the Asia section. So that was built in 2022, you said?
Yes.
And can you talk about like what the thought process is of how it's all set up and like what it's like as a guest coming in here? Because I really love how it's set up.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly try. So, like I said, I didn't move here till 2023, right. So I was not here for the construction or even the opening. But from what I have heard, Asia number one, is the first large capital campaign project that this facility has done in probably close to a decade or more. So, and we're continuing to ride the coattails of that in pushing for lemurs next and beyond. But so Asia was also one of the first areas that they really tried to theme when building it. And it sounds like it's worked because, you've seen a lot of facilities and we were out there and you were complimenting the theming of the area. So that's
it's stunning. Yeah.
Really cool to hear. And also this isn't even the best time of year to see it because all of the greenery is coming back in and all of that. So, another month or so and that area really, really shines.
Right.
So when you first enter the actual entrance to that area, you're up above tigers and you get to see out into the tiger yard. But when you continue on, you actually loop around the tiger building and between that and the sloth bear building, and then you're between two different habitats. And it is really cool to get to see sloth bears on your left side and tigers on your right. And both of those viewing windows right there are very popular with the animals as well. So you got to see both of them from one perspective, which was really cool. And we didn't say it in the moment, but in reality, in the wild, that is a predator and prey.
Right.
And you're seeing both of them at the same time. And luckily, they don't get too bothered by each other being that close to each other.
No, but if you've never seen a sloth bear suck up an entire tiger in the wild, you should watch the video. No.
That would be impressive. And then you kind of continue through, and we didn't really talk about it, but that pavilion that's over there, that was built specifically for events, and we rent that space out for that. And then you continue, you loop past the rest of the tiger yard and then the sloth bear yard, and then you find yourself kind of above our Amur leopard yard. Unfortunately, we did not see her. She is someone that does not like people. So she gets the opportunity every day on whether she even wants to be outdoors or not. She has free choice. And usually at the beginning of the day when we were down there, she is not outside. She chooses to go out towards the end of the day when people start to not be as present.
That is fair. That is fair.
And then the lower leopard viewing area, we very much highlight the fact that area of the zoo was a part of the Works Progress Administration and what that program did to build a lot of this country and definitely a lot of this area. Mm-hmm. So we have maintained some of the historic columns from some of the older habitats that were there, and we've integrated them into the design of the new habitats to highlight that and what it meant for our zoo and our city, while also still integrating the themes of Asia and those designs. So not being part of that when it was done, I feel that it was put together really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is a little funny to have a whole section dedicated to Asia with a huge United States government project mural in the middle of it and an explanation. But it really does make sense because it explains the design of the area and everything. So I did like it, although I did mildly chuckle at the WPA in the middle of Asia.
Yeah,
That's okay. It works. It works really well. And then even though, or kind of right outside and along the new Asia section, you've got some animals that have these just huge areas with these hills that they could be right up by the fence and right up by you, or just gone where you can't even see them. And so talk about some of those animals, because they're some of my faves as well.
Yeah, so those habitats are actually our old sloth bear and tiger yards. So they got an upgrade and moved out. And we made some modifications down below and brought in some hoofstock, which were a couple new species for our facility. The first ones to arrive were two Sichuan takin, a male and female. They came to us from Minnesota Zoo. And that habitat is really well suited for them. It's on a hillside. It's got a lot of shade coverage because they don't do great in the heat. They have eaten down all of the lower vegetation, which is actually nice because it was a little bit of an overgrown habitat because it hadn't been used for a couple of years. Yes, and we've really enjoyed having them in there. And then next to them in the old tiger yard, he is a little bit non-geographic, but we have our okapi male. His name is Nazadi. He came to us from Oklahoma City Zoo. And he's supposed to be down there temporarily until we get our new African hoofstock facility off the ground. But I think that's probably going to take a little longer than we had anticipated. But that said, that habitat is also really, really great for him because, again, shaded. We're talking, essentially a forest giraffe, and it is a nice forest habitat down there for him. He's got, he even has a little bit of hillside, which a lot of people don't really know that okapi in the wild are found in a mountainous area. So he has the opportunity to use that kind of motion and mobility, as well as the flat part down at the bottom part of the yard.
Yeah, I really like that area a lot. It's older, like you said, and you can tell that. But especially for hoofstock, it's great. Yeah. And the one talking was like right up top, and I was just like, this is awesome. Yeah. And then another animal that we obviously have to feature is y'all have red pandas here.
Do.
And a red panda right now because you just said goodbye to a baby. But since we haven't talked about Suni on here yet, go ahead and kind of share that whole thing.
Yeah. So if anyone has seen it on social media, and I don't blame you if you haven't, we had a red panda cub born last year, and she was actually our first cub born in like 8 years or something like that. We had a couple of pairs that just did not successfully breed, and we made a change in late 23. We swapped out females, and our newly introduced pair was successful. Unfortunately, about 10 days after birth, mom just started having really poor reactions. We do not know what triggered her. We tried really, really hard to figure that out, to remove whatever that trigger was, but in our mind and everything we could think of, nothing had changed.
Right.
But in her mind, something had changed, and she was very upset about it. And she started being really rough with the cub. And so we made the decision to pull the cub for her safety. And so that embarked on hand rearing of this cub, who we named Suni in honor of Suni Lee, the Olympic gymnast.
Nice.
Because it was right around the time of the Olympics last year. And yeah, she is an absolutely fantastic panda. We do call her a menace to society. We tried really hard to set boundaries as she was growing, but she was like, no, I don't want boundaries. I just want you. So we worked. Prior to her transfer, we worked for about 2 to 3 months on separation training with her so that she would be prepared when she went to her new facility to, number one, not be fully reliant on humans, and number two, be more open to a new red panda friend. So she was also exposed visually to both of her parents and then later just her mom. And so far, she is doing great. She is technically still in her quarantine phase there. So again, I don't want to announce anything before we can publicly, but she's been there for about 3 weeks. And everything seems to be going well from what I've heard. They've been really great keeping in touch with us. They know that she is our baby, literally. So they've been really, really just great with keeping that open communication with us as we transition away from having our baby here every day.
Yeah, no, that is really cool, and I know where she is, but I'm not saying. But I was actually surprised. So I know it's not completely uncommon for hand rearing to happen with a singlet. Obviously you do whatever is best for the cub. But a lot of times if there's a couple of singlets being hand reared, they get sent to one facility. So 2 years ago it was at Greensboro, and I got to go and be part of the Red Panda kindergarten class, and that was so much fun. And then I got to do it again this last year in Rochester, which is actually only an hour from where I live. And so Dr. Chris was raising them, and I got to go and see that experience. So I'm kind of surprised that Suni didn't join the kindergarten class. Was there any discussion about that or decision, or were y'all just like, no, we got this?
So a little bit of both. Okay. I believe Suni is a little older than the other cubs. I could be wrong. At least we had been hand rearing her for a little bit before we found out about them.
Okay, gotcha.
At the minimum.
Right. I mean, they all pop out within a couple months, but a couple months with pandas is a big difference.
It can be a big deal, yeah. So, I mean, we were pretty confident in what we were doing at that time. And honestly, it was never even suggested by the SSP that she go there.
Okay.
Early on, it was said that, yeah, if there are other hand-raised cubs, we do like to put them together for social reasons. And we're like, yeah, absolutely. And then when the New York Cubs happened, we were never really looped into that as hey, she should go too. So, not a good thing or a bad thing. It was just, it was never really a discussion. So.
See, I kind of disagree. I think it is a good thing that, like, it worked out so well. Like, that speaks highly. Not that when you take when they do the kindergarten, they're speaking poorly of the other facilities.
No, not
they're
at
not
all.
at all. But it also does mean that they were like, okay, you got this. Because I know Sarah Glass. And Sarah Glass, if she didn't think you got it, that cub would have gone somewhere else, And I know for a fact that in the last 2 years, the cubs that did move, it was not because they weren't being, it was the social thing. But I also know that Sarah Glass would, if she felt that was like, and that doesn't mean that a facility would even be bad. It would just mean that, maybe they're not ready for cubs. Maybe they're, whatever. But that's really cool. So, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we were forgotten about.
Actually, I will tell you, Sarah Glass forgets nothing. A woman's mind is a steel trap. But, no, I hear you. It's interesting. I remember when I was at AZA this year, I met two people from here. And I knew about the zoo now because of SUNY. I'd never heard of y'all before. And they were like, you have to come out, you have to come out. And this is, unfortunately, I missed her by just a couple of weeks. But I'm still excited that Mom's here. Did Dad also go off elsewhere? Or?
Dad, unfortunately, passed away over the winter. Yeah. Really rather complicated medical case that we handled on different aspects for several months. And he unfortunately succumbed to it.
Gotcha.
But the one positive is he did produce SUNY. Yeah. His genetics are continuing on. And that she is his only cub. So it was really, really critical ultimately that we did choose to hand raise and were successful with that and that she is still around.
Yeah.
Because that was his one opportunity that he had for that. So, we do miss him. He was a fantastic panda.
What was his name?
His name was Loofah.
Oh, Loofah.
And if you have ever met Doofah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
That's his brother.
Yeah. When did, do you know when Loofah came out here?
2019.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I don't think they were together when I met them, because I met Doofah, and I was like, I think it was after, so yeah, it would have been after he was out here. But yeah, those names.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. Just fantastic.
I have not met Doofah, but I am very happy that we have Loofah.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I will say, so this is not as widely out there just because we call her Suni, but her full name is Sunisa Floofah.
What?
Correct. And she got the middle name of Floofah in honor of Loofah and Doofah. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And also because she was an absolute fuzzball as a baby, so...
Yeah, they do that.
Yes.
It's very cute.
They do.
And then I want to take a moment to, before we wrap up here, to move away from the zoo a little bit and talk about your personal life. Because there is a man in town that is just in love with you. And I thought maybe you could share that story.
Yeah. So he fell in love with me shortly after I moved here. His name is Nia, and he is a spotted hyena.
And he is very in love with you.
He really is. And to be honest, I do not know why. He's always had a very strong reaction towards me. He has a lot to say every time I come around. Even if I'm just walking by the habitat, and their habitat is set back from the main walkway. If I'm just walking down that main walkway, he will come over and he's got to watch me and follow me as I go by. I mean, he's fantastic. He's a great hyena, truly. But he does have this odd obsession with me that I cannot give a definitive reason for.
We were there for like an extended period of time, and he was over talking to us, and Yeah, no, he was just, his eyes are really big and he's like looking at you and just like, hey, what up, girl? Yeah, it was pretty intense to see that. And he does have a female.
Yeah.
And he did not give a poop about her when you were around, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and even when he did finally walk away and go back over toward her, he kept like double checking over his shoulder, like, "Hey, are you still there? Are you still gonna hang out for a little while?" Like, no, but I gotta keep going.
It was so cute to see that.
It is funny though, and I said it out there, but we have a love-hate relationship. He is absolutely obsessed with me, but anytime that I have to work that area, he will not shift. He will not shift for me. I have to get somebody else in there to shift him because he just won't do it.
It's so weird. I know we don't know, but I would love to know what is going through his mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, that said, he'll do a full training session with me, no problem, once he's shifted.
Right. That's so interesting. Yeah, I obviously have no idea, but that's just so cool. Yeah, it's so funny to see when animals just like get that reaction. And we do the same thing. We all have animals that we fall in love with, and sometimes for no reason, or no discernible reason. But yeah, that was very entertaining. And actually, for y'all listening, I have some audio of some of the noises he was making. So here he is.
Can you come closer?
And yeah, okay, so how adorable was that? I guess we're pretty much wrapping up here. So is there any conservation organization you'd like to give a shout out to?
Sure. So we particularly partner with the Sloth Bear Safe, which works with Wildlife SOS in India. And we've worked with Wildlife SOS for several years prior to Sloth Bear Safe being finalized. We have sent our primary keeper to India a couple of times, and she is going back again this year to work with the Wildlife SOS staff and train them on some things and also learn a lot of what they do with sloth bears in India. So that is a fantastic organization and safe program if anyone's able to support them. And then another organization that we have been involved with for a very long time is ZCOG, which stands for Zoo Conservation Outreach Group. And they do a lot of conservation work in the Americas, specifically Central South America. And they have coordinated a couple of safe programs as well. So Safe Maned Wolf and Safe Andean Highland Flamingo are both coordinated through ZCOG, but they also do work with anteaters and a few other South American species. So those are both organizations that we've supported for a long time and been involved with. So definitely stuff for people to check out if you have a passion for either sloth bears, which if you don't, you should. Come on by and do a sloth bear encounter and you will from there. Or any South American species. I think sometimes they're kind of overlooked. Most American species, North American, Central, South American, because we're more used to them, I think.
Yeah.
And people look at, Asia and Africa and Australia and all that. It's like, oh, yeah, really cool. And those South American species are just as cool and need our attention just as much. So if you have an opportunity to look at those programs as well.
Very cool. And then it is time.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
100% yes. When I was at Lemur Conservation Foundation, if anyone does not know, when lemurs get stressed, the colloquial term is they stress poop. It is very loose and it is very stinky and it is meant to be a deterrent. So when we had to get hands-on with our lemurs, usually for medical reasons, they would stress poop. And so there was one case in particular that I was manually restraining an animal so that our veterinarian could get a very close look at their face. And to do that with a lemur, you tuck them very close against your body so that you have full control and they're not thrashing around and potentially harming themselves. So I had her. She was not thrashing or anything like that. She was being a fantastic girl, but she let loose a stress poop, and it went straight down the body and into my pocket.
Oh, no!
Full into my pants pocket. And let me tell you, that is very hard to get out of your pocket. And when you're doing something like that at 10 in the morning, you got to deal with it the entire day. And you got to smell it the entire day.
Yeah, I would imagine that's problematic. Oof. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for all this time. This has been great.
Fantastic. I'm very glad that you've enjoyed your visit.
Yay.
So I want to start off the outro part here by saying thank you to Caitlin and to the team at Sunset Zoo. That was awesome. I'm so sad that I didn't get to catch up with the people that I met up with at the conference because that was just such a cool, fortuitous meeting, and it would have been nice to at least say hello to them again. But on the other hand, it meant that I did get to interview Caitlin, who I already knew and who was very gracious when I admit I totally did not recognize her from, 5 years ago, and also with us both having different hair colors. But yeah, so that was it was very cool. It was just a good experience. I didn't really know what to expect from the zoo, and I loved it. And then as I was leaving, I got to give props to the gift shop at the Sunset Zoo. They had so many animal things that were specific to their zoo. I got a t-shirt of Sunny, the baby red panda, and also some red panda artwork from her. We got some sloth bear artwork, and they had all kinds of like very specific merch involving the names and specific animals and showing the actual animals that are theirs, photos and stuff. And I always like that kind of thing. Sometimes it's not that way. We've talked about that on here before, but that gift shop, it knew what it was doing. And so I want to give props to that as well. So I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, we will be back here on Friday for a new episode of Rossifari Zoo News. And with all of that said, I think the only thing I have left to do is to say thank you to, you guessed it, my patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, and Kevin Williams. Thank you all so much for supporting the podcast. And until our next episode, don't forget, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.